r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. What's the worst way you have ever got rejected? One of my friends once got rejected in probably the weirdest way possible. She was at a party and there was this guy she had been eyeing all night. They were vibing, talking about music and random stuff, so she figured she'd go for it. She leans in, kind of flirty, and asks if he wants to hang out sometime. He just looks at her, dead serious, and says, "I would, but I've got this really intense Minecraft server to manage. It's kinda my priority right now." She honestly didn't know how to respond. In high school, I liked a boy, and at the time, I loved paper gifts, handmade. I remember making a cute little tulip out of colorful paper, and it even had a scent. I gave the flower to him during the break, and when I returned to the classroom after lunch, a girl had that same exact flower on her desk. So, I asked how she got it, and she said, "I didn't get it, I found it in the trash, and decided to take it home." It was in my 20s. My best friend and I went out, and we met two guys. One of starts talking me, and we get along very well. He asked me out. The date went well, then I asked him for a second date. Then he just said he was attracted to my friend, just too shy to talk to her. So he thought he maybe could convince me to ask her what she thinks about him. Planned a Tinder date that had me book a ticket to a nearby city to meet up with her. Went to our meetup location, waited, went to text her 15 minutes after she was supposed to get there. Blocked everywhere, completely ghosted. I asked a girl out, and she looked me up and down, and then said, "I'd rather shovel pig shit for a penny a pound with a baby spoon than go out with you." I ended up marrying her. Just before I quit Tinder and other online dating apps, the straw that broke the camel's back for me after a few horrible first meets. This guy was like an accountant or someone that worked in finance and advertised himself as an intellectual. He'd said 2 days before our scheduled meet, if he did not find me intellectually stimulating within the first 15 minutes, he will end the date. He did it in 10. Was very standoffish around me and borderline cordial mean. Maybe snarky. It hella broke my self-confidence, and I swore off the apps for a long while. I met him at a festival in Germany, then spent a week glued together in the apartment I had in Berlin. He love-bombed me, made me feel safe, shared big plans for big dreams, and I had shiny eyes. He left for Indonesia, invited me to join him in Bali, which I did 2 weeks later. Stuff of fairy tales. I really fell for him. 2 days after I arrived, he's not feeling it anymore. That was a little over a month ago, and I'm still not over it. You're the kind of boy all the girls want to marry, but not the kind of boy we want to date. I was 14. He ghosted me. And then after 3 weeks of radio silence from him, he texts, "Hey, are you ghosting me?" Rejection followed by gaslighting is so 2000s pickup guide style. I was doing political volunteer work. He was a paid political consultant. He was funny and smart, and I thought we had a decent rapport. Until he was talking to another guy and, with me standing right there, said, "It seems I attract only the hideous and repulsive." I went to visit this girl I thought I had a mutual thing with at her college, and stayed in her super tiny single dorm room. I was sleeping on the floor, already not a great sign for my chances, but I was a gentleman, and also an idiot. She left while I was sleeping, came back with some other dude, and started getting busy with him in bed above me. The noise woke me up, and I was out of there. I drove 2 hours home on 3 hours of sleep, while blasting System of a Down to stay alert. In retrospect, we were never going anywhere, at least partly because I sucked to be around at that age, and had a lot of growing up to do. I'm grateful that I didn't spend any more time with her than I already had. I still would have appreciated an upfront thanks but no thanks, rather than whatever the F kind of rejection that was supposed to be. Went on a date with a guy who seemed interested in me. He said things like that I was pretty. He asked all about my future dreams and what kind of life I wanted to live. He asked about personal things like how many kids I wanted to have and countries I wanted to travel to in the future, and also suggested that we could totally go together one day. It was really forward, but I kinda liked that he wasn't beating around the bush. He insisted to pay for dinner and suggested we get ice cream after because he didn't want the day to be over with. Everything went well and he was really charming. He was a super outgoing, positive type guy. Later I messaged him and mentioned something about the date. I think I was thanking him for the fun time. He expressed confusion and stated that he had, in fact, not taken me on a date. He also apparently wasn't interested in dating either. I was very embarrassed and also angry because I feel like he was smart enough to know that we definitely were on a date and it felt like some BS game he was playing with me. Word got around what happened and apparently his own friends called him an idiot for not recognizing it as a date. I think it had been a date, but he decided part way through that he just wasn't interested in me after all. Apparently I wasn't the only girl he had done this to either. In hindsight, I wonder if it was something he got off to. I've coined him as Gaston in my mind because that dude was in love with himself. He later asked out my best friend on an actual date and she turned him down because of what he did to me. Gotta love karma. Confessed my feelings to a girl I was good friends with, but she told me she wasn't looking to date at the time, which I accepted. Next day I saw her making out with her new boyfriend. I still don't understand why she wasn't just honest with me, as up until then we shared a lot between each other. That friendship was also over very quickly after that. I didn't feel like talking to her for a while and she started fully ignoring me anyway, as she was always with her boyfriend. We'd been living together for 8 years. Just came back from a holiday and a switch seemed to flip in his brain. Started acting rude and picking fights. Wouldn't explain the change. After 1 month, he says that he thinks I should move out. I still don't know why, and it was 15 months ago. Crush accepted my confession at first, but my jealous best friend, like the same crush as me, ruined everything by spreading nasty rumors and shit. Crush took my side, but decided that they didn't want to give me a chance anymore. 2 things, both equally hurtful in different ways. A guy I was hooking up with was seeing another girl, which we both knew about. I was falling in love with him, and he told me he wanted to be with me too. Then he said he broke things off with the other girl. One night, we had sex, and literally 2 minutes after we finished, we were lying in bed naked, and he told me he would actually be with the other girl, because he promised her he would. What the F? Second time was when I arranged a hookup Tinder date. We went out for a drink, there we started kissing, he took me to his place. We were both naked in the bed when he suddenly got up and walked away, then came back and told me changed his mind because he doesn't like my tattoos. Big ego blow. I was oscillating between a person can change their mind about sex at any point and being really freaking pissed because my tattoos are only on my arms and he could see those in the pub. In 1964, we had Sadie Hawkins dances where the girls asked the guys out. Went up to my crush in the hallway at school and asked him. He looked shocked and said, "No," and ran off. That was awful for a long time, but luckily life helps by turning it into an anecdote. F you, Jim. Had a good going with a friend, making her laugh and all. Asked her out after collecting courage. Ooh, no. Without even asking or indicating. A woman I wasn't pursuing, flirting with, or even interested in, just randomly volunteered the information that she wouldn't date me. It felt extra demeaning that way. 22. Proposed to my then girlfriend on my birthday the day before she flew back to Missouri for full semester. We had been dating for 2 years. It felt like the right pace, not rushing into anything. She didn't give me a yes or no. Maybe it was the pressure and she needed to talk it over with her mom. They talked about literally everything, so I didn't fret. 2 weeks, not a word. Got an orange card in the mail that said I needed to pick up something at the post office. She mailed the ring back, no note, no explanation, and I had to sign for the package because the insurance on the item was so high. That was 18 years ago. It took me about 10 to get over it, and we still haven't spoken in any of this time. I found out my fiance slept with my mother. Yep, felt totally rejected and called off the wedding. 12 years later he still hasn't changed and wishes he could be with me. So glad I didn't marry him. That motherfucker. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more. Have a nice evening. Tell your friends about me.